Hello everyone, my full name is Enbling with the student ID S224916133. So today I will demo my task on units SIT221 about enabling sorting for generic data. So in this start, first I was asked to create two short methods. The first short is doesn't take any arguments because it's short the arrays based on the default comparer of the .NET. So here I call the array short methods. I pass the array that I want to sort, the range of elements and the default comparer of the .NET. The second one is a big difference is that we don't use the default comparer. We use our design comparer. So it's take the specific comparer, and in case if the comparer is known, it will navigate back to the first short to use the default one. But because we are working on the generic data, so we have a problem here is that not all kinds of data type are comparable. So it means that if we are given the integers, double or string, it is easy to comparable because they are comparable by default. However, if we are given like people, teacher or student, it is obvious that these data type are not comparable by default. So what we have to do to make use the short methods is we have to make them comparable first. Alright, so let's navigate to the tester. So in the tester we have a student class. So it is obvious that by default two student objects they're not comparable. So in the real life, what we can do to compare two students is we pick one of their properties and then compare them together. So it's also similar here. So here, when we want to make student objects comparable, we implement the comparable student interface and then have the compare to method within the student class. So in this method, we will compare this student to another student by on the one of the properties of student. Here in this case, we use ID to compare to student. So by doing this step, it means that we have make the student object comparable by default. So next time when we call the first short methods, the default comparer of .NET frameworks will know how to compare to students. However, the problem here is sometimes we want to set different rules to compare to student. For example, I don't want to compare by ID. I don't want to compare based on ID, but I want to compare name in the descending order, or I want to compare descending order name but the ascending level of ID. So if we keep using comparable, we have the problem is that anytime when we change the rules, we have to change the logic of the compare to method within the class, and it is obviously not a best solution. So what we can do here is use the iComparer. iComparable and iComparer, they're similar to, like, in case that they make two object comparable, but the iComparable here is implements within the the original class, the student class, and it's usually used to set the default rules for student object. But if we want to but the iComparer, it can implement outside of the class. It can implement in the what we call helper class to make different rules for the student object, and then all of them can be reused. Like here, if we want to I don't want to compare to ID as in the class, but I want to compare in the ascending order of ID, or I want to compare the descending order of name and descending order of ID as well. Then I can implement the iComparer interface, and then we pass the comparer. Then after we successfully decide the comparers, we will call the second short methods in of the vectors and pass the comparer that we have decided to the methods. That is the main concepts of this task. If you have any questions, just comment below. I will willing to will answer all of them. Thank you.